Hey, James.
Hi.
Um, Thank you for joining me. And I know I've just sprung this one on you, so thank you. We're going to talk about the narrator today and the safekeeper and the shores, right?
Yes. I mean, is there a spoiler alert to be had in
Yes.
this one?
So big spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't read the script. So in our bonus song this week, you get the Shore's Tale. And if you read the whole script, you might discover that the narrator and the safekeeper are in fact mother and son.
Yes.
Their family is called the Shores. So the narrator's real name is Sebastian Shaw, and the safekeeper's real name is Seraphina Shaw. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through this. Okay, so right in front of us right now,
Here, there, standing on stage in cardboard form, is our narrator.
So chilled out, like, hey.
Very chilled out, yeah.
And
so,
tell us about this. What's he wearing?
Well, the challenge with the narrator, really, we only just sort of hit upon what we think our solution might be.
Yeah.
Is he's sort of not of the world, but we don't want to sort of give too much away too early on.
Yeah.
So he's a child, and we think probably, a young child performer.
Yeah.
But he's not of the world of the other children.
Yeah, like
you discover later on why, in that he's.
I love how you're like, I don't want to give
even though you've literally just given it all away.
Yeah, so the narrator he's a child of Gloaming, and he sort of fits right in with the other children of Gloaming, and he's probably there whenever they are, but we don't ever see him talk to them.
No.
Although there's a little bit of kind of magic interaction every now and then, like he leaves them presents.
And he sort of has the spirit of being someone much older, I always think.
Yeah, like the way that he talks is like, it's like he's some sort of really loquacious 60-year-old dude who just wants to tell a story, right?
Yeah.
He's got more wisdom than he would appear to have. And he's wearing pajamas.
He's wearing pajamas because I did a version actually. Where is it? Oh, down here. I did a version of him in a school uniform, which is all very lovely, but he kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
With everybody else.
Very Just William.
Very Just William.
Yeah.
So
we
suddenly thought, well, it sort of came out of the Shaw family, who we'll talk about in a minute. But if they're all in their nightwear or in sort of casual home of an evening, attire,
That's right.
pajamas.
So we're holding off on the spoiler until we see who should we look at next. The safekeeper.
Let's look at the safekeeper next.
Okay,
so yeah. Anyway, to finish off, he's in pajamas. And also he's not got the white makeup that we've got kind of throughout the rest of the children and adults of Gloaming. They're kind of in a heightened sort of Victorian melodrama made up face.
Like white, it's music hall-esque, like
musical,
like shadows, and it looks almost like something from an Elizabethan, like if you mashed up an Elizabethan makeup with Victorian melodrama and kind of smushed it up. And the whole idea around that is that there's a line in one of the songs that says that the only smiles in Gloaming are the ones on the masks. And it's this idea that everyone is, they're all pretending to be someone that they're not.
Yeah, they're sort of performing.
Yeah, brilliant. And it just kind of looks, I sort of liked how it looked, I think, when I wrote it.
Yeah, it's sort of cool and within the kind of aesthetic of the world we're making.
Black and white.
But the narrator does not have that mask. He is plain of face, natural.
He's just a normal boy in pajamas.
He's just a normal boy in his pajamas, but without being too boy in the striped pajamas, I guess. Even though these pajamas are striped, something to be aware of, I guess, is not being too like.
Or like the small child from Snowman.
Oh yeah, okay. There's many hazards to avoid, many pitfalls.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the safekeeper.
Speaking of which, actually, so here comes the safekeeper. And again, I think we've move her back a bit so you can see her. There she is. All these drawings have been more clearly on the website somewhere rather than these little people.
Yeah, you can
It's quite a fun way to talk about them here.
On the Shores page. So the thing with the safekeeper was that her job in Gloaming is to basically stop people breaking the rules. So her job is to stop people using their talents and keep them safe. And the idea around that is that sometime back in history, somebody in gloaming used one of their talents and something terrible happened. And so everyone decided it was better to stay safe than to and to stop people using their talents than it was to risk something awful happening again. So a really strong point of reference for me writing this is Mary Whitehouse, who, if you know who she was, if you're a bit younger than I am, she was an anti-obscenity campaigner for her entire life, kind of probably into the early 90s, late 80s. And she looked like the stereotypical little, like what we think of now as the stereotypical little old lady, and she had these kind of horn-rimmed specs, a bit like
a cat's eye,
and her hair set in that 1960s way, and a little hat that sat on her head, and she always had a handbag. Or maybe I think I might be mashing her up in my head with Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
But anyway,
she always have a handbag. I've seen lots of pictures of her.
Slightly sort of mean little old vibe going on.
It's kind of very set hair, set, smart.
Yeah.
Very well put together.
You can see in James's model, like the buttons and how high necked her coat is, and really kind of pulled together. So we talked a lot about that. And then we talked about, because I'm just talking loads now, James.
Yeah, indeed.
Because that Mary Whitehouse has been an inspiration for other fictional characters, most famously Dolores Umbridge.
Yes, in Harry Potter.
And if you lived through the Whitehouse years, you can absolutely see that in Dolores Umbridge straight away. You know who she is. And we didn't want to cross over with that aesthetic. But we did still want to draw on those kind of references. So this is where our safekeeper came from. So do you want to talk us, James, a little bit? What she looks like?
So she's all in black, which I think is kind of, the palette is shades of grey throughout the whole of Gloaming. She's the extreme, so she's in the darkest colours. She's sort of smart, black coat, matching shoes, handbag, hat, a kind of, not quite fur, but some kind of trim around the collar and around the cuffs, gloves, glasses. I think we were going to try and avoid those cat's eye, Whitehouse, Umbridge glasses. So maybe go for something a bit more round and Deirdre Barlow, for want of a better reference.
I mean, I definitely remember my mum having those glasses in the 80s. Those like big,
round, sort of, plastic framed.
Anne did as well, actually. So she looked just like this, just so you know. And she's got a little brooch, right?
She's got a little brooch, and if you look, well, you won't. You'll see on the drawing. I don't know if you'll see in this tiny form, but I think the brooch is based on like an eye symbol.
Oh, okay.
So that she's watching. She's the safekeeper, keeping everybody safe, always watching. If she's not roaming the streets, she's up in her citadel, which we sort of touched on in the video about the whole set. So I just thought that might be a nice sort of motif for her, like an eye, a single eye. A bit like the tower's kind of like the eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings. I guess there's a kind of Lord of the Rings reference there.
Also that, the, is it Turkish icon?
Yeah, the Turkish eye.
So there's something kind of, it's really important with the safekeeper that she is mean and spiteful, but her intention is kind.
Yeah, are good. Yeah, her intentions are good and kind.
Like one of the things we find out about the safekeeper is that it's kind of what she does is it's misdirected love is what she's doing. So from that, should we talk about the Shaws?
Yes. But we should just acknowledge that she does look also like a sort of mean, evil twin of the Queen. It kind of was an accident, but no bad thing.
Yeah, we totally didn't mean that to happen.
We didn't look at Elizabeth at all, but actually, I think it's quite a nice sort of playful thing. Anyway, whip them away. But I mean, they're sort of relevant because let's say the Shaws, who you'll see here, kind of appear in the Shaw's tale.
There we go.
And actually, the mother and the son in this picture are the narrator and the safekeeper. They kind of peel out of their roles and join their family.
Yeah.
So if we start with them, you'll sort of recognise the narrator in his pajamas, and it's sort of suddenly that the idea, I suppose, that it will make sense now. That's why he's in his pajamas as he joins the rest of his nightwear-clad family.
So do you want to tell us why they're in their nightwear?
They're in their nightwear because, well, 2 of them are dead.
Yeah.
Died in a fire.
Yeah. Well, 3 of them are dead.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you include the narrator.
So this is the big spoiler. Spoiler alert! I'll put one on the front of the video. So the narrator is a ghost, and the safekeeper was his mum, and the other people in that group are Sylvie Shaw, who the little girl is Sylvie, and that is the safekeeper's daughter, or the narrator's little sister, and Samuel Shaw, the dad of the family. And what happened was that Sylvie, her magic power was that when she clapped, she made sparks. And so because she's little, she really, really loved doing that. And she would lie in bed at night and clap and look at the sparks, and her brother would kind of laugh with her about it. But then one night, one of the sparks didn't go out, and it hit the floor, and everyone went to sleep, and it slowly smoldered, and it's a tragedy, it's horrible. It burned their house down. And so the safekeeper managed to get out and survived, Serafina. Serafina, the mum, got out and survived, but everybody else died.
Yeah.
So it is really, really sad.
It's really bleak.
But there is hope in this story, I promise. And so that's why all of the Shaws and the narrator, that's why they appear in their night clothes, because that's what...
Yeah, we're seeing them at that moment, the moment that they died. Or, you know, we'll see. I think the idea then is that the safekeeper would peel off her coat and, you know, handbag will go, hat. Probably, you know, her hair, which is in that very set style in grey, will be attached to the hat and will come off, and underneath there's a kind of more natural, younger look. So you hopefully still recognise her sort of peeling back the years to her younger self and stepping back in time to that moment is the idea. Yeah. So she's in a night dress that sort of hides underneath the coat throughout.
And we won't talk about how it happens, but eventually the safekeeper gets to go and rejoin her family. I'm not going to give you that many spoilers. Do you just want to talk about, so one of my favourite things about this family, James, is the pattern.
Yes, that they're kind of, I mean, in the script it describes when I think Samuel first appears as though he's made of starlight. Mm-hmm. So I think this might, I mean, it's kind of up for grabs as to how we do this. There's a sort of, you know, an overlayer of a kind of cosmic starscape, a kind of view of the galaxy that sort of is over their entire bodies. So it could be something that's in the costumes, and maybe it's also, you know, a makeup thing. There's a kind of glittery body paint effect. Or I wonder actually if it's kind of a really clever high-tech projection, like a projection mapping thing where you're projecting that very precisely just onto them, which of course means very precise movements. Yeah. Which I think kind of for this could work.
Yeah. I would love that.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be the sort of high-tech version. But yeah, they should look like they're glowing and made of stars, shouldn't they?
Yeah. That would be amazing. And they could...
Which is also then why all their clothes are kind of pale whites, light greys, to take that pattern. Either if it's a literal painting and face painting makeup job, or if it's a projection effect. We're not sure. But they should glow. And then there's, this is the spoiler time, so I won't go any further.
No, go on, it's fine, tell us.
Just that it might then expand throughout the whole stage, that effect.
Yeah, maybe sort of, in other places.
Yeah, and we're finally getting a bit of colour in a world which has been very, very grey.
Yeah, very, very glum grey, gloaming.
Exactly. So
I'm just going to talk a little bit about the safekeeper and the narrator. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Shaws, because this week's song is the Shaw's Tale. Serafina Shaw, mum, who later becomes the safekeeper, her special power is that she loves people so hard that she stops any harm coming to them. That as long as she's paying attention, she can stop time to make someone safe. And then the little boy, Sebastian, his superpower is that he can always see the truth. So even when things are confused or people are lying, he always knows what's really going on. And that's why he's the narrator, because he can tell us the story that is true. And then just for fun, Samuel, the dad, his superpower is that when he's embarrassed or surprised, he can disappear in thin air. I just liked that. So tell us, there's a reason that we can't see the Shaw's house today, right?
Yes, because it does not exist. Not just that I haven't made it, but that we've decided that because the house burnt down, there is no house. So we're going to try and, the idea is to create the house using light for this moment in the show. So yeah, whether it's kind of up from the floor, whether we've hidden some sort of channels in the floor and we can light up and use a bit of haze so that you can physically see the shafts of light that make the house. That's one idea. It might be, again, using some clever projection effects.
Yeah. So the idea is that the house that because all of their songs happen in kind of memory land, the house that they happen in it never exists. It's intangible.
Well, yeah, you can't touch it.
Yeah. And in my head, that idea came from one of the first shows that I ever saw was an RSC production of Macbeth, and Banquo's ghost during the banquet scene. In the banquet scene, the table was surrounded by almost a wall of light, and there were these profiles shining up from the floor, and like smoke that caught in the light beams. And then as Banquo's ghost arrived, he walked through the wall, and sort of it meant that he flashed, and all of a sudden it was this amazing supernatural thing. So that's the reference point. That's where the idea comes from. Cool. Is there anything that we've missed?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just, I suppose they're like the kind of heart of the play, really, the Shaw family. Once you get to that part of the story, that kind of makes sense of everything that's gone before. So that whereas everything else is trying to be a bit more stylized and kind of a bit purposefully Tim Burton-y, kind of, I don't know, creepy and heightened. These guys should sort of feel quite natural, actually, even though they're glowing with starlight. They should feel like real people that we know. To sort of,
they exist, I guess. They come from the time before gloaming became this miserable place.
Yeah, before it kind of got distorted and became the kind of slightly twisted gothic thing that it is now.
Would you just pop the narrator and the safekeeper up next to the Shaw? So
Oh, she's not in shot. Pop her here. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so when you're looking at the song this week in the Shaw's Tale, just think about all of that, because these are the people that are singing it, and that is their story. And actually, I think it's my favourite song in maybe one of my favorite. It's hard to choose, but I think today
great songs.
One of my favourite songs in the whole show.
You say that every week.
I know, it's awful, isn't it? It's definitely where kind of the emotional heart of the show really sits, and that's because of this story. So I'm sorry about the spoilers, but I hope it helps. Cool. Thanks a lot, James.
Thanks.